whataboutism, don't they?
Yeah.
That's the new buzzword in Washington. Whataboutism. You know, it doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't add anything to this discussion. I think it's in isolation now. You know, if those guys want to go lawyer up and try and, you know, take it to the doping agency and see if they can get the ban reduced, well, you know, I think they're well within the rights to do that. I'm sure there's an appeal process. Maybe that's passed now. But, yeah, I'm not a fan of whataboutism. And, you know, you got to take every case in isolation. I think it's the same with a disciplinary, mate. You know, it's frustrating at times, but it is what it is.
Well, there's absolutely nothing in terms of what decision had been made on his ban from UK anti-doping. The RFL are not involved at all. No one at anti-doping gives a shit about rugby league. Let's be honest with ourselves. There's a lot of people who work in rugby league who probably don't give enough of a shit about rugby league to start thinking of pointing fingers at some national organisation. You know, we always moan that no press coverage, no TV coverage, no funding, all this stuff. All of a sudden we can't turn around and say someone at fucking UKAD gives a shit that he's going to be playing for Wigan Warriors. I'm sorry. So get off that horse, anyone who's genuinely on it. I do think some people are genuinely on it. Anyway,
well, only if to get a rise out of you, mate.
Well, they've got it there. I was giving them what they want. I've got to give them what they wanted.
You've got to give them what they wanted, mate. Yeah.
So
you're a crowd pleaser.
A cycling case from 2016. A South American football case from 2016, and then the Jake Livermore case, which was sort of through 2015 and 2016. Now, all those decisions were where a ban was reduced because of them saying that the context of the positive test was that it was not going to have any actual benefit on performance because of the wider context to it. So what the report actually says is those guys who got the bans reduced, particularly the first two cases, the Livermore case is a bit of a different case, obviously, but the first two cases, basically they got the ban reduced, and the report's saying they can't see that these people have the same mitigating circumstances that surround the incident to what Hardaker had. So on that basis, if these guys have had the ban reduced and then Livermore's had his completely wiped out, Hardaker should be treated more favourably than these first two. But they didn't agree with what happened in the Livermore case in this hearing, and it basically pretty much says that went too far. Let's not use anything like that as a precedent. But basically, it kind of they've argued the case really well by raising those other cases, by pulling out specific parts of the provisions that are around this, and that's what's got Zak the reduced ban. Now Zak's maybe had a little bit of a reprieve here by being able to just basically miss one season's worth of rugby, which, you know, is almost the same as what someone like Ben Curry or Joe Burgess is going to miss for not doing something of their own fault. So he's got off lightly there, but he's employed the right people to argue his case well. Now he needs to not waste this chance, because my problem with Zak isn't so much that he took coke. I'm not a Cass fan, so he didn't let me down personally with what he did on that night of the 6th of September, and he didn't put my season in jeopardy and ultimately Seals lose at a grand final that we very much could have won if he was there. You really don't know. That's another what if situation. So I don't have that personal level of annoyance for him for this particular incident, other than it's stupid, and it's more the catalogue for me with Zak Hardaker, and I feel more strongly about some of the other stuff he's done in his past. You know, he's let other teammates down. He's let teams down that I cared more about, like the England team, and he's let himself down with the way he's spoken to people in the past, the way he's acted on other occasions where he's beaten people up and stuff like that, which I have far more of an issue with than him doing harm to himself, which is effectively what he did that night.
100%, and I think it's one of them where at what stage do you take some responsibility for your actions, and you respect the position that you're in. And I just think, you know, Zak Hardaker was on his last, you know, his last chance quite a while ago. So I think he's done really well to get himself into this position. And, you know, I know there's a lot of strong stances out there. A lot of people think that, you know, the bans should be stronger and should be harsh, and we should be setting a precedent. Again, I don't want to get away from that, and I'm not defending people who take drugs. I think cocaine's a massive problem in society in many areas, and when I mean problem, that a lot of people are doing it, and it's it's not controlled or dealt with in the right way. And the rugby league are certainly another organisation where they've not got a grip on something that's probably rife in society, and young men with a lot of money are going to be susceptible to that.
It needs to be a wake-up call, doesn't it? This is we've had another incident recently, and this is basically we're going to end up with 4 players banned within the space of 9 months.
Yeah, totally.
In the Super League, it's not really good enough. So that's the other point I wanted to just pick up on, actually, before we went away from things, because the ban that's been handed out, I think, has been fairly handed out in terms of the process that it went through with the body that it needed to go through, and looking at the other cases and stuff. I think the case has been well argued, like I've just covered. But when you then take it forward a step, the RFL obviously are very keen to not do anything different to what UKAD want to do for this sort of thing. But the NRL have this sort of integrity unit, don't they? That's basically seen players like Carney, for example, just ruled out of the comp.
Pretty much wiped out just for too many offences.
Exactly, and it's kind of like.
And if you lined us up with Hardaker's, is there a lot of disparity in terms of? I think probably Hardaker's probably a little bit worse in some areas, than someone like Carney.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure we know all of Carney's offences. I think that's
you're probably right. You're right. I think that's
Carney.
Yeah, totally.
I think there's probably more stuff, because you got to remember that a lot of the drugs tests in the NRL aren't reported because most of them are out.
Well, this is 3 strikes. But there's a 3 strikes. You get 2 allegedly. Well, no, it's not allegedly. It's true. In the NRL, if you're tested not by the doping agency but by the NRL testing or club testing, it's a 3 strikes rule. The first 2 you get a written warning and it don't make the media, and the third time there's an issue. So there's plenty of players picking up.
That issue's a 12-week ban, isn't it? So
it is, yeah.
Is what we know from precedent, from history, a 12-game, because that's what happened to Ben Barber.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's the thing with Hardaker. It's whether it's Alan Walker's point, whether the RFL maybe could have thought about taking it more seriously beyond what the anti-doping people did, not because Zak Hardaker's doping case was handled incorrectly, but because Zak Hardaker has let down the sport, again, mate. Yeah. So I think there's more merit to that conversation than criticising the actual UKAD ban.
Personally. 100%. To me, it's not. I'm not in. I ain't got a problem with that. All it is what it is, and sometimes you just got to wear it. But I think you're right. Everything else is,
I think if this was a different issue, a secondary, an issue that wasn't dealt with by another body in the way that this has to be dealt with by another body first, the RFL maybe would have wanted to take a different. I would have been wanting the RFL to take a stance. I just think they're scared of getting involved in these aspects around something that's picked up by someone else, and there's the mental health and player welfare issues. Maybe they're scared of getting involved there.
Yeah. Look, with that and without jabbing at the RFL, they've hardly got their own house in order at the minute.
Exactly,
leadership. How they're going to get a clear message out of there on what this is what we're doing, this is how we're going to handle it, because they haven't got that leadership in place. I know there's changes coming and stuff, but for now there's not a solid foundation for leadership.
And everyone's talking about, this sets a precedent for other people. They can just, cry off or what have you.
Thomas Mims, essentially.
But that's for UKAD to deal with, not for the RFL to deal with. And it does seem like the RFL aren't in the right position to start laying something down more stringently, even though I'd be more inclined to think of that being a suitable thing for them to do than anyone having conversations about the RFL and a doping ban in the same breath. But there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on before we get to the news with something a little bit more light-hearted. Seeing as we are in episode 180, darts at Mitchell.
Say it properly. Say it properly.
We'll drop in a recording of someone saying it properly later in the post-edit. So Mitchell, who's obviously a big darts fan, as his Twitter handle makes clear, he says, in celebrating episode 180, what would be your darts walk-on song? So I'll put that to you first.
Yeah. Look, I've already got a darts name. I played in darts tournaments with my mates back home in the UK, and obviously, I have a pretty high opinion of myself, and my name was Mr Darts.
Mr.
So I just went Mr Darts. Yeah, I was Mr Darts.
You were Mr. Darts on the hockey, and you were pimping when it came to your records.
There's something like that. Yeah. See, again, massive high opinion of oneself, which everybody I know validate. Do you know, I read the notes to this earlier, and I was like, yeah, I need to think of a song. What would your Darts walk-on song be?
You'd use one of your own, wouldn't you? That's it. That's the thing.
Do you know what?
Ego.
I was thinking but that's super arrogant. But I'll go for I Feel Love by Donna Summer. How's that out of left field?
That's not a bad shout.
That'll get them going. You could see me up there waving crowd on with a bit of Donna Summer blaring in the background. Everybody will love that.
Yeah, it's more crowd pleasing than I think what my choice would be. But I'm not there. I'm not a crowd pleaser.
Okay, Computer by Radiohead.
I'd be the baddie. Well, similar sort of vein. It would be the Smith song. Please let me get what I want. But the Muse version of that song would be my walk-on song.
Well, yours is better than mine. Okay, I'll go with Hang the DJ. Can I change it? Yeah, I'll go with that.
No, I like yours. I think we've both got. Okay. We've covered the range there. I think. But of course, it was my wife's walk-on song, as it were, to our wedding was please let me get what I want. So yeah. That's why it would be that as well, but then I'd switch it to the Muse version to amp it up a little bit.
Of course.
Brilliant, good 100%. Stuff. Now on that lighter note, then we'll move on to news from around the world of rugby league. Okay, now, so news from around the world of rugby league is sponsored by littlewarden.com. If you have a website, then visit littlewarden.com and see what they can do to help you. They can help you with domain expiration checks, redirects, and all sorts of other important background web stuff that they'll make simple for you. Little Warden, monitoring the tedious. Okay, and we're going to start with news that was announced at a sunny KCOM Stadium in front of a big crowd that Hull FC halfback Albert Kelly has signed a new contract with the club until the end of the 2020 season. Kelly, 27, won the Challenge Cup in 2017, his first year after switching over from cross-city rivals Hull KR, and was also nominated for the Man of Steel award.
Yeah, good stuff. So move on to, and also Hull FC duo Jordan Lane and Kieran Buchanan have signed new 2-year deals. 20-year-old Lane has signed a 2-year contract extension with his hometown club after making his debut against the Leeds Rhinos in March. 19-year-old centre Buchanan has penned his first full-time deal with the club, keeping him at the Black and Whites until the end of 2020.
Yeah, moving over the city, prop Robbie Mulhern has signed a 2.5-year contract with Hull KR that will expire at the end of the 2021 season. The Island international, who's 23, has been with the Rovers since leaving hometown club Leeds after the 2015 season.
I think cracking bit of business, that great young player. I'll not spend too much time on it, but sad to see him leave Leeds. Not a place for him, but you could tell he got tons of potential, so great for KR that. So Will Oakes has signed a contract extension that will see him remain at Hull Kingston Rovers until the end of the 2021 season. The 19-year-old Oakes has scored 5 tries in 10 games for Rovers since making his debut in 2016.
And finally, from the Rovers, it's they've signed young St Helens hooker Aaron Smith on a 1-month loan as cover for injured skipper Sean Lunt. Smith, who's 21, has yet to make his Super League appearance for Saints, but the England under-18s man has impressed in loan deals at League One leaders York.
I don't know if this counts as news or just, standard fare, but Super League leaders St Helens have opted to extend the best player to ever probably play Super League for a season. He's 32, he's James Roby, and he made his Saints debut in 2004 and has gone on to make more than 400 appearances for the club. Next year would be his 16th season at St Helens in a career, including 37 caps for England and Great Britain. Probably not enough. And, it's pretty much across the board now that SL Pod community, fans and family, basically, there can't be enough said about James Roby as a bloke, as a player, as an intrinsic part of a club. Who I know you haven't got the softest spot for, but I've kind of got an affinity with them because we had so many of them battles. And Roby, we did, yeah. So it's easy, isn't it? So Roby, is one of the players that if he'd have gone to the NRL, he would have absolutely just, regard Josh Hodgson as the second best hooker in the NRL. Well, Roby would have blown him into next week, So, great player, great signing.
It's only the fact that he's not played in the NRL that people